Hey garden friends, welcome back to Flower Patch. We are in the greenhouse. It is rainy, snowy, cold out. You'll hear dripping. So we're in here. And I am treating soil, potting soil to kill the gnats in it, the fungus gnats and their eggs, so that I can use it for seed starting. So if I go over there to get the teapot, you know what I'm doing, the electric kettle. Anyways, today we're going to talk about using alfalfa in the garden and why it's just such a great product. Natural product that has so many uses. If you enjoy this video, please give it a thumbs up and or share with your friends. Some of the information may be helpful to them. Alrighty, now I had a viewer recently suggest that I start my videos always relating my garden zone. And I want to know, is that really that important to you? Or why is that important to you is more important, is what I need to know. Why is that important to you? And I will tell you why I don't. I have it in the description box because so many people were asking. And you know, I have gardened for 40 plus years, and many of those years I didn't know anything about gardening zones, and I did just fine. And most people, a lot of people did. It's only been with the advent of YouTube and garden channels and whatever that they really put the emphasis on it. And they put too much emphasis on it because it's really misled people as to what the garden zone really means to you. None of this, all this seed starting, winter seed starting, your zone does not matter at all. Because this seed starting, winter seed sowing, it depends on your last frost date. It depends on how cold it is now in your garden. It depends on so many things that have nothing to do with your zone. So, yeah, I don't know why I would even start, because it could lead you. It gives you the impression that your garden zone is much a greater determining factor in your gardening success than it really is. With annuals, your gardening zone does not matter. Not at all. It is your temperatures. It is at the present time or when you're planting out. And like even though I'm an 8B, my last frost date is not till the end of May. There are garden zone 6s, 5s, 7s. Their last frost date is much earlier than mine. So even though you think an 8 would be, I could plant sooner, that's not how the zoning works. I said I've got several videos on garden zones, and I know getting asked that, and why I know it's so deceptive is on Facebook pages and different forums. Someone will say, "Oh, I'm in zone 6A. Can I plant my petunias now?" That you can't answer that because I have a cousin who lives in a 9B zone. She can't plant hers out until after the end of May because she has the last frost date as I do. And Janie at Dig Plant Water Repeat, she's 9B, but her last frost date is mid-February. So that tells you the disparity. It is not the zone that determines when you can plant out. Now, that's why I don't always add it. I'm Pam, Flower Patch Farmhouse. I garden in zone 8B. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. The perennials you plant out, that tells you if that will overwinter there, your zone. But that's it. That's all you need to know that for. Yeah, it's mind-boggling to me how many people have been kind of led down the garden path, pun intended, that zoning is so very important, and it's not. Will I change? Probably not, because I do have it in my description box. But I don't want you to be so reliant on or put so much emphasis on what garden zone you're in. I really don't. So let's talk about alfalfa now. That is where I was going with this, and I know I get going. Okay, this is getting hot, so I'm going to turn it off and go ahead and I'm going to treat these one more time because these did have fungus gnats in them, something fierce. That's pretty hot. My battery died in the middle of that. Okay, I was pouring the hot water in that, and I'm pouring it in here now. Now this just kills the fungus gnats and their eggs. You could also pasteurize it in the oven. I just didn't want to take it in there, so there we go. I can then put it into the trays or what have you, let it sit and steam and kill. So I brought notes for the alfalfa, so I didn't want to leave anything out. And I also have a blog post on this, so if you wanted to go that route. I think I'm a little bit crooked. Let me straighten you. Okay, I do believe that's better. So alfalfa in the garden, I do love using alfalfa as a mulch. Now I'm going to just look, I have different bullet points here. So let's see. You know, alfalfa is often used to feed animals. In fact, just the scent of it reminds me of playing in my grandparents' hay barn. And it just takes me back to as a kid. Alfalfa is like green gold. It is so nutrient dense. You know, it's actually a legume. So you can see where it would have that nitrogen in it, nitrogen fixing quality to it. And not only does it have that nitrogen, it also has calcium and magnesium, which are also two good nutrients for the soil. So you could actually call it a multivitamin for your garden. So if you lay it down as a mulch in your garden, which I have done, about 2 to 3 inches thick, it locks in soil. It will slowly break down and feed the soil. And of course, that thick, it will discourage weeds. So it makes the perfect mulch in my mind. But there's other forms of it. You could buy it in pellets, like rabbit food. And also, I think, horse food. I think it comes in big bags. I've seen it in Tractor Supply. Also as granules. And then you can make like a compost tea with it or an alfalfa tea to pour on the garden. Now, I have used it as the pellets, like rabbit feed or the horse feed in pellets. And I've just poured like it into containers, like of roses and what have you, to give them that. It's like acts as a slow fertilizer. And yeah, that's worked really, really well for me. So another way you can use alfalfa is as a cover crop, like in raised beds. Now, I haven't actually grown it that way. I would like to try it, but for me, I would have to start it amongst my plants because I never have beds that are empty when I would have to start it in the garden. I would have to start it like in August. But I could see myself seeding it around plants and letting it come up. And then here it would be winter killed. Other places it might not. But I would just, if it didn't, I would just keep cutting it back when it was, you know, after flowering. And it's got the most beautiful purple flowers that you can just enjoy. And then for me, I wouldn't till it in. I would chop and drop, which is what I do with a lot of things. And I would just chop it back in like 2-inch increments and just let it fall to the ground. And it can act as a mulch that way. And you wouldn't have to disturb the soil. And I have used buckwheat in the past. I really love buckwheat because it comes to flower sooner, faster, but I've planted it amongst my plants as well. And it makes a pretty white flower, and I've just chopped it back, chopped and dropped throughout the summer. Now, the alfalfa, I don't know if the alfalfa will, but the buckwheat will actually help the pH of your soil. Either way, if it's too alkaline or too acid, it'll bring it closer to neutral, the buckwheat will. So, like I said, I don't know about the alfalfa, but the alfalfa, being a legume, will fix nitrogen in the soil and, you know, just help as far as feeding your soil microorganisms, which then in turn feed your plants. So what other way could you use it? You could use it in your compost bin. Now, I use it in my chicken pen, the alfalfa hay, to not only help it, because that chicken pen part, that I have a chicken house and a chicken pen, is a dirt floor. And that way they can bathe themselves in the dirt and whatever. But in the winter, it can get a little mucky because of the moisture seeping in from rain and snow. And so I'll constantly be putting the alfalfa down, and sometimes I use regular straw, oat straw. But the alfalfa, when they peck and eat at it, because it's got the leaves in there too, it makes them have much oranger yolks, richer yolks, that green, that chlorophyll that they get. So I have a blog post all about how to make your chicken's egg yolks more orange. And alfalfa, the green, is one of them. The other one you might be surprised at. You'll have to go and read that blog post. I'll link it for you. But I tried it last year and it really worked. And I grew them myself. So that was fun. So after I keep adding it, because in the winter you just got to keep putting it down to keep the pen dry, and they scratch through it and do their business on it, and it starts to compost down. But you can also just put it in your compost bin. You know, if you use it as like a thick mulch, I have done it as a mulch in pathways to prevent weeds, which it does a beautiful job. If it's left in the summer and I don't want it there, maybe I want to seed like a micro clover or something in the pathway. I will just rake it up, what's left. Usually it's already broken down and there's tons of worms under it. But then I'll put it in the compost bin and it makes a great addition to your compost bin, very rich. And just stir it in with your other stuff. I have a video coming up on used coffee grounds and using them in the garden, and you might want to stay tuned for that, because the answer isn't as simple as many people proclaim. So that's coming up in an upcoming video. That's pretty much it as far as the alfalfa. But this is kind of a nod to the old ways of gardening. You didn't have something to go buy off the shelf to put into the garden. It feeds the soil, it protects the soil. You could use it like if you have to, like on a slope, if you want to retain, prevent erosion. That's the word I was looking for. If you want it as a green manure, you can grow it as a cover crop. There's so many uses for it. Now I get it. I get that bringing home a big bale of alfalfa might not be possible for you. They also have it where it's already chopped up at like Tractor Supply in plastic wrapped bales. And that might be an option for you. Or if you want to go with the alfalfa meal, that wouldn't work as a mulch, but it would, work as a feed in your garden as far as putting down something that breaks down slowly and feeds your plants, and having all the other micronutrients along with the nitrogen. So I think that was pretty much it about using alfalfa. I will say, and I will probably put a clip up here of, pulling it apart can be a little tricky. But usually if it's laying down on its side, I have mine standing up on end because I have it in the chicken pen and I'm just pulling off flakes as I put it down. But I'll use my garden fork and I'll just cut in about at the 2-inch or 3-inch mark and lift it up, and you'll get a whole square flake. And then I just put that whole flake down in my pathways. Usually the flake like that's too big to mulch in the garden beds because I have plants there. So I'd have to cut it up and put it, it amongst the plants. But when I'm using it in my pathway, just that whole chunk is just really an easy way to lay a path. And if you have a muddy spot, or if before you've got like a pathway put in somewhere, if you're putting in a new garden and you don't have rock yet, or whatever you're going to make your pathways with, that it makes a great path that you can walk on that keeps your feet clean in the winter, like you're going out to your new workshop. You know who you are. But they make a really good way to put down a lot of time. Finish my sentence. To make a pathway you can walk on in the depths of winter when it's just mucky outside and you don't want to get your feet muddy. I use oat straw many times for my pathway to the chicken pen, because that's just dirt and I've not gotten it graveled. I should get it graveled, but a bale of straw now is like $18. Alfalfa here is $25 for a bale, but one bale goes a long, long way. So this is where my bale of alfalfa is sitting. I have this sitting on top so the chickens don't get up here and poop on it. But as I was saying, I would take my garden fork, which is right over here, and I would stab it in and lift up. And then the whole flake would come off. I would do that, but I can't hold the phone and I didn't bring my gimbal in here. But you kind of get the idea. And when you push in and lift, a whole flake comes up. And it's that size of the bale. So you can see where you can make a path really quickly, just laying down those flakes of alfalfa hay. So I'm gonna grab some of this to feed to my chickens. And you see how it's got the leaves in it? See the leaves in there? That's what they eat. And then they scratch through the straw and enjoy their greens. Enjoy their greens as well as making it less muddy. See over there, I need to put some, see the dirt over there has gotten quite wet. And it's just, you know, the moisture seeps in, wicks in from around. And a lot of times I'll just do regular straw in here too. That's some limbs off of some things like roses or something, and I need to gather them up. I had thrown it in here so they could eat off of it before when I was chopping things back. But, so that's how we lay down our alfalfa, and they turn it into beautiful compost, and how I use it in the garden. All the girls are looking beautiful this morning and enjoying their treat. Let's see, get some eggs. Yep, I got an egg in there. This is some chopped straw I bought just to try, and that would work well as a mulch too. It just wouldn't have all the green goodies in it. And I bought it in a plastic bale like that. And I throw that in the hen house in there to keep it drier. So, oh, I see I got some eggs in there. I need to go and pick up eggs. So tell me, have you ever used alfalfa in your garden? And or at the beginning of this video, I asked you, and I'm just repeating it in case you got this far, and because I do want an answer, is why is it important to you that at the beginning of videos, or my videos, that I would say what garden zone I'm in? Maybe I'm missing something. I don't know. So please go ahead and leave me a comment in the comment box. Alrighty, I will see you in my next video, and I will come back soon. I don't know exactly the next video, but I'm going to talk about using the used coffee grounds in your garden. Alrighty, I will see you later.